Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to launch and manage your Windows games on Linux using Proton in a minimal and bloatless way. Now the usual way to launch games on Proton is either through a third-party game launcher like Lutris or Bottles, or directly inside the Steam client. But what if you don't want to use any of those? What if you downloaded your game from the GOG store without any DRM or from some website that I cannot name on YouTube, and you just need to launch your game without any extra bloat on your system? How do you do that? Is by utilizing the UMU launcher, the unified game launcher for Windows games on Linux. Now what is this? This is a Python script, a Python wrapper for Proton that essentially emulates what Steam client does when you hit the play button. And by utilizing this program, you no longer need to have a Steam client installed on your system or any other game launcher. As a matter of fact, you just need UMU launcher and a version of Proton. For example, Proton GE, a very good fork from Glorious Eggroll. Let's get into it. First of all, we need to download the UMU launcher from the GitHub releases. If you're on Debian or Ubuntu, you can download the Debian deb package file, or if you are on Fedora or OpenSUSE, you can download the RPM file. I'm on Void Linux, so I'm going to just download the zip app version. And for the Proton GE desktop releases, and just download the latest tarball for Proton GE. Now I don't need to download these because I already downloaded all of them, UMU and Proton GE. When you extract the UMU package, you end up with two files, umu-run and umu-run.py. This umu-run binary is what we actually use to launch our games, and this Proton version is what we use to launch the Windows games. Before proceeding with this tutorial, you need to put this umu-run binary inside your path so that you can call it from anywhere on your system. I already did this. You can see that I can run umu-run from any place on my system. Now, how do you actually launch your game? First of all, I need to tell you that UMU is entirely configured through environment variables. First, we need to set some environment variables. First of which is Proton path. This is the path to your Proton version, the GE-Proton that we downloaded in this tutorial, for example. So I give it the path for Proton, my Proton version, in my home directory, UMU tutorial, GE. This is our first environment variable. The second one is Wine Prefix. Wine Prefix is the location when your wine prefix is gonna be generated, or if it's already generated, utilized by Proton. And we don't have a wine prefix yet, so we give it a path that we want UMU to generate our wine prefix in. In my home directory, UMU tutorial, and the game I'm going to launch today is Bayonetta, so I named the folder for my wine prefix Bayonetta. Now, there are some other environment variables you can set, but since we are generating a wine prefix for now, I just run the umu-run binary command with an empty string as its argument, so that it generates my wine prefix using my Proton version. Let's run that. it's going to search for a game ID. I'll explain what a game ID is later. After this command completes, there is a wine prefix generated for me at the path bayonetta. This bayonetta with capital B is my game. I downloaded it from a website that I cannot name. Let's see if I can type. Now this is my game, Bayonetta. I downloaded it from a website that provides no pre-installed games, as they call it. And the Bayonetta directory that I just created, that UMU launcher created, is my Wine Prefix. It has a drive C and all the regular files for a Wine Prefix. Now that our Wine Prefix is generated at this directory, I need to move my game folder inside it. I just put it in the program files directory of my Wine Prefix. Now that we have our Wine Prefix configured and we moved our game folder inside it, we cd into it, change the directory into Bayonetta. Let's double quote this Bayonetta, drive C, program files, Bayonetta. Now this is a crucial part. In order to launch your games using Proton without any headache and problems, you need to first be inside the folder that your game file exists in, your game executable lives in. Now we can go ahead and launch the umu command once again, and we give it the name of our executable, bayonetta.exe. Take note that I have my Proton path set up here, my Wine Prefix set up here, and I'm running the umu-run command with the name of my game executable as its argument. Let's enter that. And it's simple as that. We just launched Bayonetta without lutris, without a Steam client or any other bloated graphical application. Now you might say that typing out environment variables on the command line every time I want to launch my game is hideous. So what we do is we just write a simple script for it. Let's open bayonetta.sh. Let's put our shebang there, bin sh. This script is essentially going to be my game launcher for Bayonetta. I export the previous variables here, export Proton path. Pay attention that you actually have to export these variables. If you don't export them and you just define them simply like this, these variables are not going to be available to the umu-run process. So you need to export them for this script to work. Now you might ask that why do I change the directory into the Wine Prefix and where the Bayonetta executable lives and then running the umu-run command. The reason I do this is because many games expect you to launch them from their current binary directory. If I omit this line, don't cd into it and just type the path to my Bayonetta executable, this game might not work. Many games don't work if you run them like this. So you need to actually cd into them. And at the end of the script, we run the umu-run command. And we don't need to specify the location because we are already in the location thanks to the cd command. We save and quit, we make the file executable, and now we run it. And that's basically it. We just launched Bayonetta using Proton without any graphical application. Now before we conclude the video, I need to talk about some other environment variables that you can pass into umu-run command. For example, the store variable. This is a variable that in which you define the store which you obtain your game from. In my example, it's Steam. If you obtain your game from GOG, you just hit GOG or some other store. You put the name of that store here. I just put Steam here. And what this variable does is that, first of all, UMU has a database of Proton fixes for various games that need some patches for improvement or even working. And by adding this store variable, you tell UMU launcher to use store specific Proton fixes to improve your gaming experience. Another variable that we can define is the game ID variable. As I mentioned, the UMU project has a database of Proton fixes for various games that need them for improvements or compatibility. And the way they work is that the UMU project has assigned a specific game ID to each game that needs Proton fixes, and you need to define the game ID of your game in the game ID variable so that the UMU launcher knows what Proton fixes to apply for your game. And to obtain this game ID, you go to the umu.openwinecomponents.org and search for your game. Bayonetta. As you can see that Bayonetta doesn't have any entry in this database, so I can safely remove this variable. But if your game has a game ID assigned to it by the UMU project, it is advised that you define the game ID in the variable inside your script. For example, I fetch a game that has a game ID, like Alan Wake. As you can see, Alan Wake has a couple of entries in the UMU database. One for the GOG version, one for the Epic Games version, and another entry for this DLC. I think it's a DLC for Alan Wake, whatever. If your game has an entry in the UMU database, all you need to do is to copy this UMU ID for your specific game and put it inside the game ID environment variable of your script. Bayonetta doesn't have any entries in the UMU database, so I deleted the variable, but what I added is this store variable that determines that my game comes from Steam. And when I add this variable and launch my script, my game is gonna run a little bit better with some Proton fixes applied to it. Let's just run this script, and you can see that Proton fixes for Steam games are applied, and my game launches a little bit faster, a little bit better. And this is it. I hope this video was informative for you guys, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this where I explore minimalistic ways of computing, again, let me know in the comments. See you later.